Good morning. Bitcoin is $121,837 today. What's going to happen for the rest of today? Is Bitcoin going to head back up and possibly hit a new all-time high, or is it going to head even lower? Man, I woke up today and was looking at this chart, looking at Bitcoin, and I'm a little surprised that we had, such a solid dip. I know that 2.5% is nothing in the crypto space. I always mention that myself, but I just really keep thinking every time Bitcoin goes ahead and goes up and bumps its head on that ceiling of 125, 126 in that ballpark, that one of these days it's going to break through. And when it breaks through, I feel like it's not going to just break through to 127, 128, 129. It's going to run up to 135 or 140, and we're going to start to kind of see relatively new highs that are much higher than what we're used to, because in my opinion, between now and the end of the year or so, a lot of people say between now and the end of quarter 1, we're looking to see, $200,000 Bitcoin. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm in the camp that, we're going to get a little bit of an extended bull market. I don't think that we're going to be done by the end of 2025. I think we're going to extend this bull market into 2026. I don't know if that's good or not, though. If the bull market, if I was certain the bull market was going to end in the next couple of months, then I'd also be relatively certain that over the next couple of months we were going to see some sweet, beautiful, upward momentum in the altcoins. Where obviously if Bitcoin is going to run its course, and it could be all the way into quarter 1, some people are even saying quarter 2, excuse me, quarter 2 of 2026, then when in the world are we going to have altcoin season? So I guess at this point I should give my famous, this isn't financial advice. I don't have a crystal ball, guys, man. I wish I did. I know we all wish we did. Like, I don't even need a crystal ball, like a permanent one. Just give me a crystal ball that I can look into for about 30 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes, maybe 1 minute. Like 1 minute with a good crystal ball that was just going to give me an idea of what was happening over the next, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months would be so beautiful. How are you all doing today? Looks like you guys are chatting it up. We got Nana, Nay, and Jonah in the group. Good morning. We got Dave P. Good morning, Dave. Hope you are doing fantastic. Mr. Eric Bernstein. Good morning. Good morning. We got Pablo Noodles. Good morning, Pablo. Cian. Good morning. Hope you guys are all doing great. Pablo, we got to get onto a Zoom call or some kind of a voice call, at least in the not too distant future. I don't know if you noticed, but your Texitcoin business is starting to grow. There's been, a couple people placed underneath you in Texitcoin, and I want to make sure that you've got into your back office, your dashboard, and you can see your tokens accruing. Also want to make sure you're probably getting to the point here fairly soon, Pablo, where you're going to get your hardware wallet, and I want to make sure to help you be able to connect your hardware wallet with your Texit mobile app wallet so that you have liquidity for your tokens. I don't know, Pablo, if you noticed, but Texitcoin just recently got listed on MEXC Global also, so, and a couple of other exchanges. So it's very easy to sell your Texitcoin tokens that your miners are creating for you whenever you are ready. Man, I woke up kind of dehydrated today. Haven't had my coffee yet either. We're going to get some coffee after this stream is over. So what do you guys think? I know you don't have a crystal ball either, But Bitcoin's sitting here at 121. Do you think we're headed back down to like 118, 116? Or are we headed back up towards the 125, 126? Do those of you that are watching have any idea, any educated guesses? I'm kind of in the camp, if I had to really guess, I would say we might drop just a little bit further. But once again, that's just kind of years of experience and a gut feeling. It's not really any, technical analysis that I can lean on and really point to. Just wondering what you guys are thinking about. I don't know if any of you were watching a Crypto Lifer this morning. I think he had a show while he was on an airplane today. I didn't have a chance to check him out, so I didn't hear what his thoughts were on the market. So if any of you have been listening to other YouTubers over, the last 2, 3, 4 hours and have a little bit of insight as to what you think the markets are going to do, I would love to hear from you. Good morning, Tim. Hope you are doing fantastic, my friend. We got Vanish Joy. Hello, hello. And yeah, good crew on here this morning. Once again, don't be shy, guys. None of us know for sure what's going to happen. So none of us are going to come back next week and be mad at you if you say you think it's going down and it goes up, or if you say you think it's going to go back up and it goes down. I know in the, little bit longer term, if we're going out and looking at a couple of weeks to a couple of months, that I think we are going to see some more significant upside, especially in Bitcoin. That's the other, I've got another question for you guys. If you don't mind answering, especially Dave, I know you've really been on the pulse of crypto. You've been posting in the Infinite Crypto Telegram group a lot. What do you think about altcoin season, Dave? At this point, have you given up on altcoin season? Do you think we are very close to an altcoin season, like within the next, month or so, having some significant gains in altcoins? Do you think it's going to be closer to the end of the year or quarter one of 2026? What are your thoughts on when we're actually going to see some movement in the altcoins? Because look at this, guys. This is kind of crazy. A coin that I'm going to use as an example, Polkadot, one of my favorites that I've got some trades in on. In fact, I've got a trade right here on WEEX that I'm super excited about. I've got a Polkadot trade in. I got this Polkadot trade in, I don't know how long ago, man, at least a couple months. I wish I could see the exact date. There's probably a way where I can see the exact date on when I created this, but it's been a while. This has been in play for months, at least 2, maybe even 3 months. What are we in, October? So July, August, September. I would say, yeah, this has probably been in play since July. We could probably figure it out if we go back to this chart and just kind of look at over the last 3 months. Okay, so right here, August 2nd, this thing dipped down pretty low here. Not quite. It's not on here. It's not exactly 335, but remember the exchanges can be a little bit lower. So right here in about August, there was also a time back here in July where it was pretty darn close to the price that, pretty close to the price where I got in on this trade. So somewhere around July or August. But even if it was August, we've got all of August, all of September, and now, part of October. So over 2 months. But look at this. This chart here looks like a heart attack chart if you're seeing it. But because it's so condensed, look, we're looking at a peak of $4.75 here and a low of $3.50 roughly. So this is for the last 3 months. Let's look at, if we go out for a whole year, guys. Yeah, if we go out and you look all the way back here in December of 2024, it was all the way up at $10. But look, if we just drop down to, say, right in here, February of this year, $5. And if you look at this chart, I mean, pretty flat. Yeah, I mean, it has its ups and downs, but it literally been hanging out between 350 and 480 for months and months and months and months. And sooner or later, this thing's got a slingshot out of here. Like, look at this token. Used to be a $54 token. I'm not saying that it's going back up to 54 anytime soon, but I do think that this is going to turn into $20 or $25 token. You know, another one that I don't even think I have any trades in on it anymore, but another token that I really think is great for doing some leverage trading, this Cosmos Atom token. Same thing here. Look at this, right? You know, from February 14th here, $4.99, and then its low here is down in the threes. Like, it's been between $3.50 and $5 for, it feels like almost forever. I mean, similar to Polkadot back in December 5th, December 6th, it jumped all the way up over $10. But these tokens like this just make me feel like we are getting ready to, you know, slingshot out of here. You know, this is a little bit different chart. With the 1 year, you can see this thing came all the way from 4 or 5 cents back in November of 2024, rocketed all the way up to a high of 34. And it's a little bit, you know, bumpier ride. But if you kind of go back, you know, you see this peak here at just under 30 cents. The last time we saw that was way back here in February, you know, so kind of this trajectory has been kind of similar with most of these tokens. HBAR has had a little bit lower lows and a little bit, you know, a little bit bigger upside in between. But overall, if you go all the way back here to February 2nd, it was sitting at, you know, 25 cents or so, 30 cents. And then from February all the way through until now, it's been sitting between, you know, 30 cents and, you know, 21 cents for the most part. Let's see here. We got Dave P says, altcoin season will happen, but only for large caps. Top 20 coins, not including Bitcoin or ETH, because of the upcoming ETFs on said coins. That is an interesting perspective, Dave. And while I do see your point, and in a lot of ways, I do agree with it to a certain extent. I also believe kind of in that old saying, and I always get this one wrong. Something like high tide raises all ships, or something like that, or high tide raises all boats. And so what I think we will find is that maybe some of the smaller cap, micro cap gems that we were hoping were going to do, you know, 100, 200, 500x, they might not run as hard as we were hoping. But I don't think that we're going to see Bitcoin go to $175,000, $200,000, and then your top altcoins like, say, your Chainlinks and your Solanas and your you know, HBARs and some of these top 25, top 50 altcoins have these massive runs without watching the smaller caps and the micro caps do some damage too. I don't think that they're going to stay static, but I do agree with you that we might only get, you know, some 10, 15, 20, 25 X's in some spots where I was hoping we were going to get more like, you know, 100X. But I do agree that there's some possibility there that the most money is going to go into the XRPs and Cardanos and stuff of the world. So let me see here. We got here, Gabe says, please check out Sol. So we will definitely do that. Eric says, historically, government shutdowns hurt markets the longer they go on. Might be some turbulence in the near term unless we get some super bullish news. I like that. I like that that perspective, and I think that is a pretty good theory also. Eric also says that he kind of agrees with Dave. It'll happen, but probably not a shotgun effect, although I would love to be wrong. So it'll be interesting to see. Previously, altcoins, when they really start to run historically, they make some pretty violent moves. And Eric, I don't know what your idea of a shotgun or like a slingshot is versus mine, but when I'm talking about a violent move, I'm talking about still probably over the course of 3 months, not necessarily something where we wake up and we have a 2 or 3 week period of time where altcoins have a line like this on the chart. Like we're not going to see, this happen where it goes from 4 cents on November 5th to 36 cents on December 6th. Although, I mean, that was still a month period of time. I think it'll be more like, 60 or 90 days of accelerated growth, kind of like back. If you look at the altcoins back in 2020 going into 2021, from roughly November, December, all the way through March going into May was when we really had our bull season and our, big upswing with the altcoins. And a lot of that happened from kind of November to February or so in about a 3-month period of time. So I don't necessarily, maybe slingshot or shotgun isn't a great term, but I also think that it will be somewhat violently headed up in the right direction over the course of a 2 or 3 month period of time. It's not going to be something where, say the peak of the market is going to be first quarter, end of the first quarter in 2026. I don't think it's going to take all the way till, January 15th of February of 2026. And then we're just going to get a real short 2-3 week, 1 month altcoin season either. So just my 2 cents. I absolutely don't know anything for sure. Pablo says, guess it depends on if retail ever gets it back into the market in a big way. That's, super, super, super true. Dave mentions, something, an important point, if only we were getting stimulus checks again, that is something that very, very much probably helped the altcoins during that altcoin season, was the stimulus checks. So Eric says, I meant shotgun as in all. I see what you're saying, Eric. You mean okay. Makes sense. So Eric was saying more like the shotgun effect of a big wide blast and all of the altcoins going up. Okay, that makes more sense. So he was basically saying what Dave said slightly differently, in the fact that he thinks it's going to be a more targeted group of altcoins, which I can certainly get on board with. Obviously, guys, part of the reason that I showed you Hedera, Atom, and Polkadot those are 3 tokens that if I was getting ready to do some leverage trading, that I would be open to taking a closer look at because of the way that they have been pretty stagnant. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek for Gabre or Gabri. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I apologize. Gabri wants to take a quick look at Sol. So let's take a quick look at some Solana. Number 6 sitting here at $223. This is another one that's had just massive kind of ups and downs. It feels like it. Look at this. I mean, it went all the way as low here not that long ago. Just back in April, it dipped all the way back to $105. What a nice little long this would have been over the last handful of months. Even here, when it jumped up and towards the end of June, I mean, just a lot of great opportunities. Even here, August 2nd at 158, all the way up to 223. As far as my price prediction, I think that we're going to see a minimum of $500 to $750 Solana over the next couple of months, but it wouldn't surprise me if we see more like $1,000 or $1,250 Solana. And, in some crazy worlds, it could even do a little bit better than that. It's really hard to tell. But part of the reason I say that, guys, is I don't know how many of you have investments in BNB, but man, BNB kind of sneakily, ran up to this $1,260 range. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have like a huge amount of BNB like that's just sitting there as an investment. I've got BNB in a bunch of accounts, for my gas fees on Binance Smart Chain, 25 here, 50 there, 100 here, 50 there, that has gone up. But I mean, this is a pretty nice looking chart. If we take a look here, you can see that this thing was just, $643 in just, June, July, August, September. We're talking 3 months ago. This thing was $615, and it's quietly over doubled in price. It's got a massive $176 billion market cap, and continues to grow. And I don't see any reason why Solana can't have a similar trajectory to BNB. So it's not going to surprise me at all if Solana ends up being $1,000 token. I think if you would have asked me a year and a half ago, I would have told you that my prediction for Solana in this bull market was $1,000. And so I'm kind of hedging my bets by saying that I believe that it's going to at least 500 to 750, but it's not going to surprise me if it still gets all the way up to $1,000 plus during this bull market. It says altcoins rally hard across the board. Seems like it may be more concentrated with all the institutions this time around. I agree. I think you and Dave are both right on. Like, I would be allocating if it was me right now. I mean, I might still make some $50, $100 plays, and depending on my budget, maybe $200 or $300 plays on some altcoins that I thought were going to run. But I don't see any reasons. So I guess this is where our perspectives might be slightly different, but I don't know. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But I still have a little bit of trouble, even though I think Solana could be, $500,000 coin. I'm not super excited about running out and buying a bunch of Solana spot. Obviously, a 2 or 3 or 4x over the next handful of months is absolutely amazing. And I guess I'm spoiled in crypto. Like, if you told me a stock was sitting at $225 and that it was most likely going to go to $500 to $1,000 over the next 3 months, that would be what I would consider to be a very good stock to buy, because that's unusual in the stock market. You don't see a ton of stocks doing 100% gain, 200, 300, 400% gain in relatively short periods of time. In crypto, especially if we hit a real altcoin season, I don't necessarily see, a 4x as anything to be getting overly excited about. I think if you go slightly further down the rabbit hole and you get down into, say, some tokens from 25 on, that you've got a much better chance of still getting a 10x. Like, I think Hedera has a pretty high likelihood of being over a $2 token. I think that another token that I like trading Polkadot. I don't know that Polkadot is going to do massive numbers. And so if you didn't want to buy Polkadot spot, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. Although buying it and having it staked at, 10, 12% interest ain't a bad way to go either. But another token, I'm going to get to it here eventually. Another token that is high up on my radar, Ondo is another one, that I don't, at 56, I think Ondo at 90 cents has a much bigger upside than a token, say like Solana and, and even XRP. Another one that to me, like Polygon Matic, we've talked about this token a handful of times. And part of the reason I was scrolling down is I wanted to see, we were taking a look at ICP because Vanish mentioned that it's been crashed all the way down to $4.39. But look at Polygon here at 23 cents, guys. If we click on it and you take a little bit longer term view, this thing was not that long ago. Like we're talking about during this kind of this cycle that we're in, this thing was on March 15th of 2024, all the way well up over $1, closing in on $1.25. Its previous all-time high is $3. Oh, it's not showing. Oh, this is the wrong. I need to be looking at the original Polygon. This is the X Polygon one here. So it's only showing it at $1.29. But this was a $3 token back in 2021. This didn't start tracking it until much later because it's the new Polygon. But take my word for it, it was a $3 token. So for this thing to get from 23 cents here back up to $3, we're talking about almost a 15x. So if I was going to be buying a token spot and just holding a bag of it, I would much rather own Matic, Polygon, than Solana. Another token that I think is going to be big, if I get down to it, where in the world is it? Here we go, VeChain. VeChain has been doing some massive things in the world. And if you take a look at VeChain, is he out front or out back? I thought all the dogs were in, but I don't know where they all are. I guess I'm hearing barking. He must be out back. And I thought, anyways, not that big of a deal. I don't think you guys could probably hear my dog barking in the background, but my son's here, so I figured I'd have him let him in real quick because he's barking and kind of bugging me. But VeChain, if we go down here, back in the last bull market was 28-cent token. So it's another one that's got over, oh, come on. Leave the cat alone, guys. It's got another massive, massive move, in my opinion. VeChain all the way down at 76th is another token that if I was going to buy spot, and I mean, for it's a great token, in my opinion, also to do some leverage trading on. I remember back like last year putting in leverage trades on VeChain at around 2 cents to 2.2 cents. So like right in the range that it's at now. So right now with a 10x leverage, you would get 2.2. You out of here, son? Yep. Love you, buddy. Have a great day. It would have, you would have to go all the way down to about 2 cents in order to get liquidated. And with one ladder, you could take yourself all the way down to an 18-cent VeChain. So since this is, kind of Trader Tuesday, this is definitely a token that I like the idea of getting a long in on. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. So I think that most of you that are watching are pretty well versed in the Varnell trading system. You guys are pretty used to what I do. But for those of you that might be a little bit newer to the show, I don't think I've gone over this as much for a while. One of the things that I do, as I was mentioning here, I'll go back to WEEX, like this H-bar trade too. This H-bar trade, it's only, a $65 trade, but this H-bar trade has been in play for a long time too. You guys watched me do this H-bar trade probably a month and a half ago, I would guess, somewhere in that ballpark. This H-bar trade has been in play. So you guys know I like to get trades in play that I can hopefully keep in play for longer term. I'm not just jumping into the market, placing a trade, and then jumping back out in 15 minutes or an hour or even in a day or 5 or 2 weeks. a lot of times these trades are in play. Like this dot trade here is up 237%. I've got $592 in realized profits or unrealized profits here. And a lot of people would be like, why aren't you taking the profit on that? Well, it's because I believe that Polkadot is going to be $10, $15, $20, $25 token over the next couple of months. And if I go out to this, position, this take profit stop loss tool here and click on this, and we put in a trigger price, say, of $15 and 100% of our dot, we can see here that the estimated profit loss on a $15 Polkadot is $8,600, guys. It's a 3,477% increase. So that's basically a 34.77x increase on my initial trading funds. So I like to try to take smaller amounts of money and turn them into big amounts of money. You only got to turn a couple $100 into 8,600 a few times to make a pretty significant change in things. And so let's go over here to BYDFi. This is another one. This trade I put in a long time ago. Now I got this trade in and it's only got 5x leverage. And you can see that it's, slightly underwater right now. But the liquidation on this H-bar trade is all the way down at 18.48 cents. So it's still got a ton of room before I got to ever worry about any type of liquidation event. So let's say that you're looking to make a trade today and you're going to follow along here with me. You like the idea of VET. It's down, a little over 4% today. So you jump into your BYDFi account or wherever you go. What I want to do here is the first thing I got to do is I got to get some funds transferred over here. So I need to go down and get rid of this, and then I can do transfer. And then we're going to transfer from spot to USDM. Got $264 there. So we're going to go ahead and transfer that whole $264. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys my somewhat, kind of conservative approach. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go to the current price. And I need to make sure, so we're on isolated 10x, perfect. That's what I want to do. And then we're going to basically do about $100 trade here. So we can see, you may or may not be able to see it on the slider, but right here, we're at $100. We're going to hit the long button. Where is it at? Where are we at here? 2268. It's at 2270. That's fine. It'll pop in. So we've got an open order here at 2268. It's at 2269. Hopefully it'll drop down here a fraction of a cent or two and execute this. And it'll go from an open order to a position here. If for some reason, look at this. I mean, I don't know how in the world I do this, guys. It drives me crazy. Like, how do I pick a time where it's just going to start going straight up, so it's already up. It's not a big deal. It's at 2273. But like, if I'm catching it on a downswing, like right here, it's executed a long time ago. I don't got to worry about it. Like, I don't want to watch this go up to, 23 cents or something before it executes. So I hate, let me see here. Deadwood says Plume earns SEC approval as transfer agents for RWA. Interesting. Well, while we're seeing if this is going to pop back down and execute, Deadwood also says RWA Summit estimates the RWA sector to be a $60 trillion industry in 5 years, 50x the money flow. Incredible. That is definitely some amazing news. Let's pop over here and take a look at Plume. So this has definitely had, its ups and downs. If I remember correctly, it seems like we talked about this token, didn't we, Deadwood, back when it was near its all-time high here, when we were looking at it at around a quarter. So man, it looks like a 10 cent plume looks like a pretty darn good value, a pretty good place. So, and it's retraced, retraced a little bit. Yeah, I like the chart on this. What do we got here? So markets, you can buy this thing everywhere: Binance, Bybit, Mexi. Surprised it's not on Coinbase. Yeah, I can see why you keep stacking. I wonder if, is it even available here on BYDFi? I wonder. It is. Well, then I'm not going to be as conservative on VeChain as I was going to be. I will show you guys my conservative approach, but I want to use some more funds, and I like the idea of getting a trade in on Plume. I wish we would have seen this here. Now, what I want to tell you guys, for those of you that are newer to crypto, is this green line means one thing and one thing only. It means that Bitcoin has made a run up in the last 5 minutes while we've been on here. It was all the way down at 120. And let's go take a quick peek at Bitcoin real fast, just so I can show you. Like, you almost always, all you got to do is look at Bitcoin, and you can pretty much see, like, nope. Well, did it click over, or is it still on Plume? Yeah, see Bitcoin? I mean, it's not identical. It had a little bit of red dots, but like while we're watching Plume and VeChain have this green line, it's the exact same basic green line as we see with Bitcoin. It's literally kind of almost silly, folks. You can wake up in the morning, go to bed at night, and look at the price of Bitcoin when you go to bed at night. And then when you wake up in the morning, look at the price of Bitcoin. And before you ever look at your portfolio tracker, you can pretty much know whether your portfolio is up or down, based on whether Bitcoin is up or down. It's still, even after all these years, after all the adoption, if Bitcoin's going up, generally altcoins are going up. Sometimes harder, sometimes lower, but it's very rare that Bitcoin's going up and altcoins are going down. And then, vice versa. If you wake up and Bitcoin is down, you can just almost guarantee that the number in your portfolio, like if you had a $100,000 portfolio and Bitcoin's up a couple percent, you're going to have more than $100,000. If you had a $100,000 portfolio and Bitcoin is down a few thousand, you're going to have less than $100,000. It's just like clockwork. But anyways, I regress. Let's get back here to, we still do have this open order. It looks like the mark price right now is still hasn't come down to 2268, but that's okay. Let's go buy some Plume. I think this is going to be my first leverage trade on Plume. So we're going to get in here. I think Bitcoin's going to go a little bit lower, so I am going to put a trade in, although, I mean, it doesn't make a huge difference. But what were we at down here just a few minutes ago? We were at 10,497. Now we're at 10,667. So I'm going to go back down here to 10,497, and I'm going to change this to a 10,505. And we are going to throw in we're going to do another $100 worth of a leverage trade on Plume. I want to make sure here that we're on 10x leverage. We are, but I don't want to be on cross. I want to be on isolated. So 10x isolated, and we are going to throw in a order at 10,505 on a 10x long, and hope that those come down and execute. So now, for those of you that haven't seen me before, one of the things that we're going to do, and that we want to do when we're being conservative, is if you take this price here on the Plume, it doesn't show the liquidation price. I wonder if I click on this. Nope, that doesn't do it. So we can see here that our entry price is 10,505. If you take 10% of that, that would be a little over a penny. So let's see what happens if we do a stop loss at 0.09. You can see here that that is 143%. So we would be liquidated. So let's go 0.925. That's still $120 or 109%. So we got to go 9, say 7. Nope, 9.5. 9.596. No, we're 9.8. I'm going the wrong way. 9.594. So we can see here right in between 9.4. So we go 9.45. Yeah, 9.46. 9.47. That seems a little low, but anyways, at 9.47 cents, we would be getting liquidated. So what I would do if I had a little bit more money in my account and I wanted to be very safe with this and give myself an extra liquidation price rather than it liquidating at 9.4, I would put an order here in as say like 0.95 for another like 150, $200, depending on. So since my initial trade was at 100, I would probably do $150 to $200. Say you started lower with like a $50 initial trade, you could probably do a $75 to $100 what I call a ladder. This helps you to keep from getting liquidated. Although it's kind of a weird, I'm not getting at 10. I got to do some math here on the calculator because maybe my head just ain't working right, but that seems like way higher than 10%. So we take 0.15, 0.10,505 times 10% minus 0.10505. Well, I guess it does. It takes us down to 945, and we're at 947. So I guess that is pretty close. So 945 is about the liquidation price, and I'm saying that to be safe, we put in a stop loss here, put in another order at 9.5. So I guess that is correct. So you would go in and put an order in at 9.5. That's going to give you almost another penny. So it would have to go all the way down to almost 8.5 from 10.5 where it is here in order to get liquidated. So you would have, a 20% cushion. And if we go back and we look here at Plume on this chart, I mean, you can see that it was just a few days ago, August 31st, it was down to 8 cents. So there's no guarantees that it won't run back down. But with Deadwood's news, what he's talking about here with Plume earns SEC approval as a transfer agent for RWA, there's a reasonable possibility that we're not going to see. Obviously on the news, in the recent past, it had a nice run up here. You could see it went all the way from September 1st. It was at under 8 cents. And then here on September 12th, it ran all the way up to 13 cents. That was a nice little, and then it's, kind of had some correction sense, but I would feel relatively safe with this at around 8.5 cent liquidation. If you wanted to be super, super safe, though, you could do another ladder at 8.5 cents that would take you down into, this under 7 cent range. So far, unfortunately, we're not getting any kind of retracement at all like I was hoping for. So same thing, even on the vet, we're all the way up to 2284 instead of the 2268 price that we have. I still have a feeling that we're going to dip down and get to those, but I'll do the math again really quick for you on this, guy. So if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, so I got VeChain at 0.2268, where would I put my first ladder in? Well, if you take 10% of that and then subtract 0.02268, you're at 0.24. So what I would do here on VeChain, if I wanted to do a ladder, is I would come in here to 0.2, and it's 0.05, and I would do another long. Oh, I don't have enough funds in here to do it. There we go. I mean, that'll pull up. I got $60. So I would do this. And then basically, you can see here it says price gap 18.67%. So I would have roughly an 18% gap before these positions would get liquidated. I would obviously do it for more than $65 because my first trade was $100. I would want to do at least $150 to a $200 ladder trade if I was going to back this up. I didn't have enough funds in this account to back up these trades, and so I'm going to kind of take my chances. I will probably get some more money moved over, but my point is, if you take now 0.0204 times 10%, and then subtract 0.0204 from that, you're all the way down to 18.36 cents or 1.836 cents. So we're sitting here at 2.2, and with one buy like I did and then one ladder, you get your liquidation all the way down to 1.8. And if we go back to the vet chart real quick, let's go here more to like the 3-month. You can see, I mean, it's been down to 2.1 here, but it hasn't been under 2 cents we're all the way back here to July. Let's do the 1-year chart. That update. Yeah, we go to the 1-year chart. It's still like way back here, a little dip to 1.9 in June. But for the most part, 2 cents has been a pretty solid floor for this thing. And so at 1.8 cents, I think there's a very high likelihood that you're probably not going to get liquidated with the VeChain trade. So those are a couple of trades that I would be pretty excited about. I don't think you could go wrong with doing some trades on Polkadot and Atom either. I think both of those are set up pretty good. ICP is another one that I think is in a pretty good spot to do a potentially, like a long. And then, guys, for any of you that are a little bit more conservative than me, just do lower numbers. Or if you don't want to do a ladder, just do 3 or 5x leverage. You give yourself, so much more. Like on this plume with 5x leverage, we would have over 2 cents just on the first trade, because with 5x leverage, you have a 20% gap between the price you bought at and the price you would get liquidated. So we bought it a little over 10 cents. That means with 5x leverage, our plume trade wouldn't get liquidated until it was all the way down a little over 8 cents. If you do 3x leverage, then you have a 33% gap. So on this plume trade at a little over 10 cents, you would be all the way down to around 7 cents before your plume trade would get liquidated. And you can still make some significant money with 3 and 5x leverage. I'm a little bit more aggressive. I've comes from my poker background. I have a little bit more gamble in me than some folks. And so I like 10x is kind of my sweet spot. Every once in a while, I'll go 15 or 25x. Although if I do 15 to 25x, I do become a shorter term trader. I'm looking for a run, like even on a little run like this one that we're seeing right here. Had you got in on this trade here at 00242 with 25x leverage, even when it just ran up here to 00286, that would have been a significant little profit with 25x leverage. Wouldn't have been a huge profit with 10x leverage, but with 25x leverage, it would have been definitely worth taking the profit and letting it and not letting it sit there and run, hoping that all of a sudden it was going to be 3 cents, 4 cent, 5 cent token. With this trade here, with this VeChain trade, like I'm hopefully looking at potentially holding this all the way up to 10, 15, 20 cents. And let me give you an idea of what kind of money that makes. I mean, it almost sounds silly, but look at this, guys. We got $100 trade in. If this thing goes up to, I was watching an influencer the other day that I respect a lot that was talking about a 17 cent, excuse me, 0.1, a 17 cent VeChain. So at 17 cents, estimated profit $6,500. So I basically turn $100 into $6,500 if this thing gets back up to 17 cents. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but I probably did. But if you look back here, during the last bull market, this was a 28 cent token. So it literally only has to go a little over half as high as it did during the last bull market. And I can turn $100 here into, $6,500. I like that math. And even if I'm wrong and somehow this VeChain never gets anywhere near 17, but let's say that it just goes back up to 10 cents, that's still $3,400, a 300 and or a 34x, excuse me, 34x. And even if I'm horrible at math and it only goes up to 5 cents, that's still a nice little win, turning $100 into $1,200 if this thing just a little over doubles from 2 cents to 5 cents. So that's kind of my play when it comes to trading. I'm like, these trades right here. If we look at this little $65 trade, and we were just talking about H-bar going up to, minimum of $2. So if you take this trade here and at $2, that's taking $65 and turning it into $5,500. If we take this dot trade that I've got, $184 in, and we take a look at it at, say, a $15 price, we're talking about $8,600 on the, the dot trade. So I've only got a few, this is probably $1,000 that I'm showing you guys tied up in these trades, but I have the potential to make, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on these trades over the next few weeks to the next couple of months if we finally get this little altcoin season that we all believe is coming. We just don't know when. And here we go. It's back to 2270. So you can see it's headed down. If it hits that 2268, it will go from being an open order to a executed order, and my position will show up here. I was kind of hoping that would happen before the end of the show, but guys, it is 10 o'clock, and I gotta get running. Let's see what else we got going on here. Deadwood is getting ready to do some work, waiting on a Jeep to come so I can diagnose a clutch swap for him and place my bid. Awesome, man. Good luck with that. Hope it goes well. Let me see here. 300 is too much to ask for swapping a clutch. Same price as all the parts. Awesome, man. Well, hopefully that'll work out for you, Mr. Deadwood. And guys, I hope you had a good time with me here today. We went over some good market conditions. We, checked out a few things, and hopefully for those of you that are open to doing some leverage trading, maybe these opportunities on Plume and VeChain will appeal to you, the same way that they did to me. So excited to see you all tomorrow morning on the Wednesday 9 a.m. live stream. In the meantime and between time, hope you all have an amazing day. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.